Inukari opens you up in an aesthetically pleasing pixelated world with unique environments. It has a short duration, but the fast-paced gameplay kept me intrigued. Before I get into this video, I'd like to say that I've never been interested in speedrunning or completing games 100%, as in my experience, it usually requires you to obtain small items which can become tedious. My focus is on the game itself and how I felt while playing it. With that being said, let's dive in a bit deeper and get into the review, or my thoughts on Inukari Chase of Deception. I found myself playing a familiar game in Inukari. You have a jump button, you can attack, you can use your special item. The enemies are fun and offer enough variety that I was not disappointed. It is a straightforward game and requires you to get from point A to point B without falling or taking too much damage. Although it did take me a while to understand how to know when you passed a level, so I never knew when it was acceptable to put the game down without losing progression. It was advertised that it has 24 levels and 3 worlds, so once I completed the forest, I thought that it could all have been just one level. I felt something was a bit off with that. After beginning playing Hills, I discovered every time you go off screen and the loading icon appears, you are beginning a new level. After some hard counting, I learned that when you complete 4 levels, you would face a boss. It would have been nice to know that when I was beginning a level, but this is not too much of a gripe, as the core gameplay is a lot of fun and fast-paced. Also, the progression is solid, as you gain a new ability after completing the first 2 worlds, and both abilities are easy to use and make maneuvering around levels much easier. Now, it would have been nice to have had some sort of collection system or hidden items scattered throughout the levels. Collecting coins did not do much besides boosting your score. I won't say too much about this because I still had fun with the game, and even though I do not always go for the 100%, it is still always a plus to have additions besides only the main story. The only negatives I had about the gameplay experience is the lagging that occurred during my playthrough, and the difficulty I had determining if all the walls were climbable, as I was unaware if the game was glitching or if it was a user error. There were times when I would appear stuck, and there was even an occasion when I fell through the map. And although this did not happen enough for me to put the game down, it is definitely worth mentioning. Inukari's story is a classic human versus nature tale. Humans pollute, humans lose respect for the environment, and now the world is falling apart. Pretty simple, right? The simplicity is what makes this story well done. I may have slight bias for the story due to me being a huge Miyazaki fan, as there are parallels to the film Princess Mononoke. Your goal is to make peace with the humans, and to do that, you need to find the source of the issue. The message here is not about good and bad, but about finding harmony between humans and nature. Sure, there's no cutscenes besides some dialogue, but most 2D platformers don't have too much emphasis on story. So, I'm going to weigh that as it relates to the genre. I believe they've done a great job getting the message of the story out without forcing it into any cutscenes. As the pixelated art style has been making a comeback over the last few years, Inukari managed to captivate what makes this style great and filtered in music that matched the tone for each setting and scenario. The game sets you in a forest, snowy hills, and in a city. The music of each setting matched the theme, and as you progress through each level, you'll notice small changes in the environment and to the music. An example of this are the snowflakes that begin to appear after you defeat the mid-boss on the hills, or the fog that is displayed upon defeating the possum. Although these additions are subtle, they give you the sense that you are progressing towards something, and without these details, that feeling of progression would not be as apparent. For a short game, Inukari was still able to provide 6 bosses who all carried unique designs and attacks. Similar to Mononoke, these guardians were corrupted by the humans, and it was up to you to bring them back to themselves. Each boss had 1 or 2 different attacks that needed to be analyzed to find the best solution. Although I never figured out a strategy for Gamaka, I just kind of ran around and attacked when I could while trying not to get trampled. The common solution for most fights was to dodge their main attack, as they would leave themselves open after. Some bosses kept you moving, while others required you to find a safe zone to not be hit by their projectiles. No boss was too hard. I only found myself defeated by Shamar and Fuller a few times, but I still enjoyed each one as they were all suited for their environments and offered enough of a challenge. But I will say that the final boss was disappointing. It was very easy, and the design was lackluster when compared to the rest of them. Overall though, they were another reason I looked forward to progressing, as I was curious to see what animal was waiting for me at the end of each world. Inukari, Chase of Deception offers a classic 2D platforming gameplay experience with a small variety of enemies and worlds, but enough to keep you intrigued for the duration of the game. Although it feels unpolished at times, the potential is there for this to be built upon, as the atmosphere and music blends greatly with the pixelated aesthetic. The story is simple, and does a great job giving you the sense that you are helping the world around you. The bosses are fun and unique from one another, but could offer more of a challenge. Personally, I enjoyed this game a lot for the simplicity of what it was trying to accomplish. It had its faults with its lack of content, tendency to lag, and short duration, but I look forward to seeing if the world of Inukari will continue to grow. Well, that is all for today, so I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on Inukari in the comments below. I'm also open to any suggestions and would love to hear some of your ideas on good topics or games to cover.